Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Gens Podcast. This is Marcia, and I am your resident Gen X. And I have the whole squad with me. I have Kelly, I have Johans, and I have Kyra. Y'all say hey.
What's
Hey,
happening?
hey everyone.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about one of my very favorite things. We're going to be talking about traveling. Traveling is my love language, but we're going to put a little spin on it because y'all don't want to just hear us talk about our boring vacations. We want to talk a little bit about how important travel is for the soul, for the mind, for professional development, for personal development. So let's get started. First question. Hey, y'all, tell us, why do you travel? What is about travel? Why do you travel?
To get away. Sometimes,
Great.
what I'm saying? Sometimes, work be out of control and it's just like, or life could just be out of control. You just want, just to change the scenery, just to kind of, break up the monotony of the same day-to-day, you know, environment that you literally see every day and that you're a part of every day. And it's just an opportunity to go be amongst other people, amongst other places, and just be, if you will.
As soon as you said that, I heard Lenny Kravitz. I want to get away.
There
Kyra's
you
gonna have to sing it for me because
go.
area to me.
So for me, I want to say it's like an escape, but my goal right now is to like escape from. So like for me, it's like because I want to experience things. I want to go out and I want to see things. Like for example, I want to go to like a safari and I want to see like the animals out in the wild. I love giraffes and elephants and stuff. So I want to get on a little thing with my hat and my bug spray and go out there and see the animals do what they do.
Like Jumanji.
Yes, well,
Sort
yeah.
of, right?
Sort of. King.
Yeah, I would have to say, well, some of my travel has been out of necessity, stuff going on with family. That's what prompts a lot of travel. But outside of that, definitely for relaxation purposes, for fun, just to see new things, experience new things. Um, yeah, but I guess a lot of my trips have been centered around family though. Not all out of necessity, but it's still been family stuff.
So I am going to tell you a little bit about my travel background. My grandmother used to travel all the time, and as a little girl, I would travel with her. So we would go to all these hotels, and I just love the fact that I didn't have to make my bed. We would leave the room, and we would come back, and everything would be all clean. And I was like, "What is this magic?" And And so my grandmother put the bug in me. And even though we were traveling like up and down the East Coast for various and sundry things that I don't know, because I was like 6, 7, that age, she had conferences and stuff. And I love being able to go into restaurants and order food. I didn't have to wash the dishes. Now that I think about it, it's really just the lazy part. Like I didn't want to do no work.
Nothing wrong with that.
So my grandmother kind of put that bug in me to like just be have the I think the luxury of being in a place and having somebody do stuff for you that you would normally have to do at home. And then from there it just kind of, grew for in me for a love of travel. What about you, Kelly?
For me, let's see. I didn't really travel much. Like the first part of my life, like when I was in school, like I was born in California, moved to Texas, and then I stayed in Texas for forever. But then after I graduated high school, I kind of got involved in some type of like network marketing kind of company that just kind of put together vacation packages and stuff. And I started taking those trips. And it was fun. Like I went to a lot of places in the span of like Arizona, I went to Florida, I went to New York. I went to Florida a few times actually. And I don't know, we had so much fun doing that. And so from that experience, like it made me like want to venture out. Number one, like I saw that I had the opportunity to, and it was at something that I can afford, and I was in college. So I was like, okay, I'm liking that. But then like I'm a little bit older and I haven't traveled much in the past few years. I think the last thing I did was a cruise like 2 years ago. But yeah, I do want to, just like go out, travel, experience different cultures, see, different things. And that's kind of where I am with my traveling, with my experience with travel.
I've heard a couple of times that people have said see different things and go different places. So tell me, what is the goal of that? Like, what makes you say I need to see something different than where I am? Like, what makes you say I want to be somewhere different than where I am?
I think it just comes from, I guess I'll use myself as an example. So one, I grew up near airport. I grew up doing a lot of reading. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when I read, I always just kind of envisioned places. And so, as a youngster, not necessarily my family didn't necessarily have the means to like get on planes and travel. So if I'm being totally transparent, I didn't take my first flight till I was an adult. And so a young adult at that. And I've always had this yearning desire to just go see places because of course, once you travel, the world is huge, but it shrinks once you kind of like see the world and like, oh, okay, yeah, it's 10 hours on a plane, but still it's like, you get to just have that experience. And so for me, it's always just, getting back. Like every time I get on a plane, I feel like I'm a kid all over again because like I said, one, I love planes, and two, just growing up near the airport, it just kind of puts me in a place of in the backyard, like looking up, like I wonder where that plane is going. And even now, like sometimes I'll even go to the airport, there's little areas you can like watch the planes and I'll just, just daydream and things of that nature. And, thankfully I've been a lot of places, as I've, kind of just grown, and traveling is it's just fun. It's just like, aside from, being lazy, not having to make my bed and stuff like that, but just the whole idea of, I'm real big on culture. So it's like, just kind of immersing myself in another culture, if it's domestic, just another state, because every place in the United States has a different culture, every downtown, every MLK Boulevard, you know what I'm saying? So everywhere you go, it's kind of like, you get to see it. And of course, we could talk about the Midwest, the South, the West, East, all of that good stuff. And it's just from the food, I mean, the music, just everything. You know what I'm saying? Just being out there. Like I've definitely fallen in love with traveling, and I'm with you, Kelly. I want to create a lifestyle where I don't have to, quote unquote, get away from. But traveling is part of that lifestyle of saying, you know what? I can't believe I ain't going nowhere in 3 weeks. It's time to go somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, it's just, I just enjoy the fact of just like one, and being a sports fan, wanting to go visit other places just to kind of, see that type of stuff. So it's like it's multi-layered with me in travel.
Oh man, I love that, Johan. So we're gonna come back to that in a minute because I do want to ask Kyra. So Kyra, you were talking about traveling because of family situations, maybe traveling to and from family. We used to do a lot of road trips when I was a kid. So is that kind of what you guys did? Go
Oh yeah,
visit mom or
all the time. We did lots and lots of road trips. Not to mention my dad was a truck driver. Now we didn't go on road trips on the truck, but he didn't mind hitting the road as much. So most of our traveling was done in family in the van, or yeah, mostly the van, because like I told you all, I have 7 siblings. So we weren't taking flights together.
way too expensive
Yeah,
for
yeah.
9 people.
Right. And my first flight was also as an adult. Well, the summer after my freshman year of college, that was my first flight. I actually flew to Jackson, Mississippi. I went to Jackson State for a summer program. So but yeah, we had a lot of fun on the road trips, just being able to stop when you're not under a time constraint. It's nice to stop here and there and look at the sights on your way. Um, Now, I do enjoy flying, especially I'm going somewhere far away and I can be there in 2 hours instead of 16. So
Right.
the flying is nice. But yeah, lots of road trips.
Yeah, I remember we did a road trip from like West Virginia to Florida, and I don't remember, you know, again, I was younger. I just remember they packed all the snacks, and I was in the back seat eating all of the candy, sneaking the candy from my brother and sister. And then I got sick to my stomach, and they were like, "What happened?" And I was like, "I don't know. I ate a bag of Milky Ways or something." So road trips are great. I love road trips. Um, Especially like I had three daughters. So again, the cost for flights was too much, right? I got to, even, you know, as little kids, I got 200, even at $200 a flight, which you could hardly get. That's still, you know, $800. I'm not trying to do that. So road trips are cool. I would pack up a cooler, and I love the sightseeing part. That's my favorite. I think America has a beautiful land. We've got mountains and water and lakes and oceans, and we can always stop at different places. But I want to get back to that thing, Johannes, about cultures. Talk to me a little bit about like kind of the cultures that that you're referring to when you're traveling.
I mean, just, you know, the culture of where you're at, you know. So I guess when I talk about culture, it's talking about, you know, the music, it's talking about, you know, just the way of life and just how people are, you know, like in New York, it's like it's the hustle and bustle. So everything is fast, you know. It's like it don't matter where you're at, excuse me. It's like you feel it. Like I don't know if everybody here has been to you know, Times Square or any of the boroughs, anything like that, but it's like you feel a certain level of energy. Like that energy is part of the culture, it's part of the just straight movement, it's part of like literally the hustle and bustle, you know, quote unquote the rat race, if you want to go a little bit deeper. And you know, I've been to a place like, you know, like Destin, Florida, you know what I'm saying, where it's like it's beach weather, it's like it's Florida, number one. So it's like it's nice, the palm trees, it's relaxed. So the culture is not hustle and bustle, but it's more of a relaxed space, you know. Um, let's not start talking about the food. You know, I'm a foodie, so it's like I love I love trying different foods. And you know, I remember my first time going to New Orleans is like, you know, everyone talks about the food, but the food is amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's just everywhere we went, it was just like the food was just so on point, and I'm just like, it makes me not want to leave nowhere. So like I pay attention to just like the people, the way of life, just how they talk. You know, I'm real big on, you know, accents and things of that nature. I love an accent. People say I got an accent. I don't hear it, but you know, I hear myself talk all the time. But you know, just like how people conduct themselves. I'm real big on just like I said, going to the MLK wherever you're at. You know, in that particular state. You know, and just checking on people and just, you know, because I believe that, you know, I like to be around, of course, people that look like me, talk like me, things of that nature. I'm not exclusive with that, but I go places and it's just like it's always good to just, you know, see somebody, you know, you get the head nod or whatever, quick conversation. And I'm just like, okay, so, and I'm quick to talk to somebody and be like, hey, where's such and such? You know, where can I find, you know, I used to collect like records. So where's a record shop? You know, so things of that nature. Of course, records are kind of like obsolete. You know, people are more into, I guess, MP3, maybe not even MP3s. Everything is so digital, but I know I'm showing my age, but whatever. But, but always love the sound of a record. I remember being in Chicago one time and friend of mine, he was like, yo, we got to go to this record spot. And so he took me, you know, first he told me like where this is where Obama is, everything. I was like, all right, cool. But then he was like, here's the record spot. And so we literally spent like maybe a couple of hours. Like I love stuff like that. And just you just get a feel for whatever city, town, or just wherever you're at, that feel of, okay, this is what they're about. You know, you might get a few, you know, a few stares, a few looks like you don't belong here. You know, the style of dress. I mean,
Right.
there's so many different places I've been. It's just like they can tell you're not from here, you know, before you even open your mouth. So I like to pay attention to that type of stuff.
I love that. I really love that. So talking about foodie, you mentioned New York. New York's got the best pizza, got the best pretzels. Come on through with the, you know, when I go to New York, I got to get Junior's cheesecake. I got to
Cool.
go and get my White Castle, because even though you can buy it in the freezer, it don't taste
Not
the
the
same. The
same.
grease on the grease on the grill is what.
You took me back with the White Castle.
Right. And then talking about music, like America, you know, where you are, Kelly, you've got a lot of good country soul music. Up in the DC area, we got go-go, which is very specific to that area of the country. I'm a big go-go fan. So, you got me with the food and music. What about you, Kelly?
Definitely, I want to say the music, but I like to see just kind of like what other people do for their day to day, like Johannes was saying, like their way of life. Like I know that if I go to like some areas of Mexico, I can take a nap in the middle of the day, and that's okay. No one's gonna say anything about that. Like other
Yes.
places of the world where they like they prioritize like that family time or that personal time. So it's like we're closing stores in the middle of the day, and everyone gets to go home, or just kind of learning through different cultures, but like by immersion. I feel like I'm not gonna really fully understand, how other people live, like learning in the classroom or reading in a book or like even seeing it on TV. I mean, TV and the internet and stuff. Like I want to actually go there and I want to do that and I want to be a part of it so that I can understand. I think it helps like open up your mind a little bit to new experiences. And then like you can always find it like a new hobby. And for me, like I like to always feel like I'm on an adventure. So for me, just like I get to choose the adventure that I'm going on when I travel.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, Kyra, where is your favorite place to travel in the United States?
Hmm. Um, I I guess it depends because just one place.
I mean, it
When
don't have to be one place. Is it the South? Is it the mountains? Like,
yeah, I guess I'm gonna say this. Well, I mean, I live in the South anyway, and I spent a lot of time in Florida, and it is beautiful, the water and the weather. So put all that together. Um, Definitely enjoyed California.
mhm.
But even that depends on where, because you would like to think, oh, it's always sunny and hot in California. Mm-mm. No, because I've been to other places in the even when it's warmer, it's been warm in Georgia, but it was cool in California, certain places. I'm like, oh, okay, didn't know that. But yeah, I guess I could say Florida is a top spot. I lived in New York, well, upstate New York, not New York City. But yeah, because I miss the snow sometimes. So, but I just want to see it, every now and then. But yeah, uh, I'll say
Never
Florida.
miss. I never miss the snow. You can send me a picture, and I'll still get like twitching because I don't. Ever. I used to live in West Virginia. I remember snow so bad that it was to the top of the front door. So when we
Ooh,
opened the door, there was an impression of snow there that
No.
looked like the door.
yeah.
So, bruh, the farther south I can get and the warmer I can stay, I am good with it. So let's do, I know we've never done this before, but can we do a show of hands? Like, who likes the water and the beach?
Tolerate it. I'm sorry.
Me?
It's all
Oh, I was about to say,
You
like,
can
was it
see
a
our hand on the
delay?
camera.
Okay, how about mountains?
I
I'll do
like the
mountains too.
mountains.
Mountains.
That's where I want to go.
Okay, so do you like hiking and those sorts of things, camping and stuff?
I'm not camping. Oh no.
right.
I like to think it's a good idea, but I mean, unless I got an RV, some air conditioner, and some internet,
Hey,
I
yo,
ain't going out there.
it's funny.
No, absolutely not. But like hiking, yeah, I would do that. But I got to come back down. Got to come back down and be in my bed at the end of at the end of the day.
I understand that. So one of the things that I wanted us to talk about is how travel kind of feeds our growth as individuals. So for a long time, I've always said that we're all the same. We just sound and look different. We just want to live the best life we have. We want to do the things that we want to do. We want our families to be safe. And regardless of what part of the country we live in, regardless of whether we live in another country. That's just really, we're all the same. Like, I may have a different accent, I may have a wider nose, may have a different skin color. And what I found in my travels is that I was right. I found that we're just all the same. People are pretty similar. We have different thought processes and ideas, and we grew up differently. But in my travels, it helped me really solidify learning about people, going back to Johannes's word culture. Um, I've traveled a little bit overseas. Anybody traveled overseas? Johannes?
Yeah, I was in a cruise. Does that count?
It does count if you had to get
Okay.
if you had to get a passport, it counts.
Oh yeah, my passport is in my purse right now, itching to go somewhere.
Just itching for a place to go.
Yes, yes.
But something that was said earlier about like where people are come from and what they who they are. One of the things, I used to work on a cruise, many of you guys know. I used to work on a cruise ship and I worked for about 4 years. So that's 7 months at a time on the ship with other nationalities. That's people who are crew members as well as people who are on the ship. Primarily when we're cruising out of a port in America, it's primarily an American based group of people, guests, right? 3,000 people on the cruise, 90% of them are American. When we ported out of England, then we had a different kind of influx of people. We had, a lot of European people, but as Spanish and Italians and those sorts of things. And so in talking to people about where they came from and where they lived, I would, if I had never heard of a country, which there were plenty of countries I'd never heard of, I would have them show me on the map. Like, show me where we are, like Mauritius. Mahu? Like when my friend said he was from Mauritius, I was like, I don't know what that is. Estonia, Belarus. Those are some of the people who I met from those countries and had conversations with and said, show me on the map. So when I go home, I can be like, I know somebody from there and I know how to find it on the map. But in your travels, what have you learned the most about how you connect with people?
I think I find that like with different places that you travel to, like I feel like it's a little bit harder to connect sometimes, right? Like, say I take my Southern hospitality to New York, like it's not going to be received well, or like someone comes down, like from New York, like not to
Well,
point
stop
them
it.
out or
Stop
anything, but like it cannot be received well, like that culture and everything. So, like for me, I do want to say like it's a little bit difficult, but like I'm always open to like an adjustment and just kind of like learning about why people are doing the things that they do, or like how's their culture, how like how it fits in, stuff like that. And it kind of like opens my mind for like future travels now to like be more intentional about learning things like that.
My family's from New York, and
Hmm.
people would always say, my mom's from Queens, my dad's from Brooklyn, I've got family still there. And people would always say negative stuff about New York, like they're mean and they're angry and their stuff. And I would be like, my people aren't like that. But I lived in the South, I lived in West Virginia in the South. And like you said, your Southern hospitality is different. Like you speak to people, you make eye contact with people. To Johannes' point, New York is hustle and bustle. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like I'm trying to get to work, I'm trying to get to the grocery store, I'm trying to get to wherever, and
Hmm.
they can't really slow down. And then if they're moving fast and people from the South are not moving fast, now they're confused. And like
Hmm.
the Southern hospitality people are like, they're mean, but
Yeah.
we're kind of foreign in that space at that time, so we don't necessarily understand how fast they have to move all the time. And so once I
Yeah.
started to learn that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be mad with you, but I need you, the person who's saying that people in New York are angry, I need you to think about the space that you're coming from and going to, so that you can make sure you're modifying your behavior a little bit, right?
Yeah, and also like in some cultures, it's disrespectful to take that same thing. Like making eye contact in some cultures is considered rude. And so
Yeah.
it's like it's just learning those things, and it's like you do have to do research, whether it's like me traveling to New York or me traveling up north, like same thing as I need to do, like going overseas, like just kind of learning, mannerisms and things that are okay. Some places you have to like look up how you can dress, like it's a lot of things. So yeah, it's definitely cool to learn that through actually doing it and like making that experience.
I agree. And then it's like even to your point, it's like sometimes it's like you got to dispel the misconceptions or even the stereotypes of a place. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, people might, joke about the South, be like, yo, it's slow and, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, nah, like I love the South. It's like people have so many different, misconceptions and things of that nature. And a lot of the times it's people who have never been. It's just like they're just their view of. And it's just like that's another reason why I love traveling, because it's like you get to actually be in the midst of other people, from different places. And again, sometimes people they don't have that experience, but they'll say, like I done met so many people. Oh my gosh, New Yorkers are crazy, and they're like, yo, how many times have you been? I've never been. So how do you even know firsthand? Well, my cousin. Oh, come on now, I can't even. I don't do third party experiences. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's and like I said, New York is New York. It's going to be what it is going to be. And you could see the same thing in any space that if it's busy, I could go to, downtown Chicago. It's gonna be busy. I need to move. If I'm over there looking at the, skyline, like it's like I'm a tourist. So it's like,
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna you're gonna get that. So my point is, you know, I do my best not to even, people are telling me, oh, such and such city, this place is blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let me experience it for myself, so I can have my own idea as to what it is, my experience, how I enjoyed it or how I didn't enjoy it. I can't think of a place where I haven't enjoyed. Like I don't been some place and it's just like, always looking for the best part and always experiencing the best part of any experience. That's just what I'm gonna be on. So
I agree. I definitely agree about people speaking on things that they've never experienced, right? Like, it's if you're going to make a presumption about something that you've never experienced, I really just want you to be quiet. Just like don't talk about it. But I spent a lot of time in West Virginia. I've lived in Maryland, Virginia, Texas, California, West Virginia. I'm in North Carolina now. So I've lived in a lot of places. And the South gets a bad rap for because they're slow, people think they're not smart. Perfect example was it's been quite a while ago, but there was a presidential candidate. If you guys remember, I didn't look up his name, but it was a presidential candidate. He had a very slow drawl. Do y'all know who I'm talking about? This has probably been a while ago, but people thought he was stupid. He was a businessman, and people thought he was stupid, and because he wasn't talking fast like everybody else, right? He was a Southern gentleman. He had kind of a drawl, and he talked really slow. And because of that, people made a presumption about his educational background, his business acumen, right? I really wish. How long ago was this? But anyway, uh, when people are talking about living in these parts of the world and having the southern hospitality like living in a Texas or having a fast moving like living in New England area, it's really better if you spend some time there because even if you when you start working with people who are in a space who are from a different part of the world, how can we be able to accommodate them in the working space and make sure that we can work well together, right? Like, is travel a good way to be able to help us be able to work with people from different parts of the world or different parts of the country?
Definitely
Mhm.
agree. I didn't think like that, but do you think that the only way to learn those things is through travel, like how to work with other people? from, you know, different cultures, different parts of the world? Do you think it's the only way to learn how to do that is to actually go and, you know, learn their experience or experience what they do?
So I personally don't think that the only way to learn how to communicate with people from other places, whether domestically or internationally, is to go there. But I do think it's important to have an open mind. And I think sometimes if a person hasn't traveled outside of their little square, whether it's their neighborhood, their town, or their city or state, I think that their minds may not be open to other types of people. So even if we're just traveling from one state to another, if we are allowing ourselves to experience things that are different than what we grew up with, then I think it can be helpful.
Yeah. But also, like, even speaking to your comment, you said, how do we accommodate them? How do they accommodate us? Because a lot of the times it's like we have to always kind of acquiesce to other people. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why is it that always we have to always kind of like, for lack of a better phrase, bend over backwards for other people, you know? And it's just like, for me, it's all about the humanity of it all. Like, a smile is always a positive thing. You know what I'm saying? Even if I don't speak the same language, if I smile and, you know, to some degree give you good energy, that's, you know, at least it's breaking the ice. But and I understand people come with their preconceived notions about men, women, black, white, whatever. I get that. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, and traveling to some degree helps that. But a lot of the times it's like some people are just so, I guess, rooted in their stereotypes, in their, it could be racism, bigotry, whatever you want to call it. We can, you know, label it however we want. They so firm on it that they won't even allow the experience with you to be pleasant as it could possibly be. They would rather just stand, as they say, stand on their business. They want to stand on their racism. They want to stand on their clutch their purse. They want to, you know what I'm saying? It's just like I said, I laugh at stuff like that. I'm just like, you know, it's very closed-minded. It's very, you know, fixed mindset of a person to just make an assumption based on how a person may appear to them, based off, a lot of the times it's not even their own experience. You know, but it is based off of something they may seen in a movie, you know, or something they may have, oh, well, such and such had this happen to them. So now everybody's grouped into that. But this might be a different conversation for another time. But, you know, traveling, I know opened up my eyes. It let me see more than just who I was, and let me see how I was received to the other parts of the world and other parts of the country. You know, and I think that's important as well. How are we viewed in other spaces? You know, we don't talk a lot about that. And even to your point, how do we, how do we acquiesce for them? And it's just like, you know, people are interested. So it's like sometimes you got to be in the midst of them to see how they are. And sometimes that's not true element because they notice that you're there, so they're not really going to be themselves, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't really mean like how do we accommodate other people, but how are we in general in a work environment working together, period. Like I'll give you I was going to say perfect example. I don't know if it's a perfect example, but it's an example. So my first contract on the ship, my team was very small. There's only 5 of us. So I'm the only Black female American. I have 2 Spanish women and an English male. And so as the new person, when I get in, I'm not doing anything very, very hard on the ship. I was an entertainer. I worked with guest activities. We do bingo, trivia, dance parties. Like I was having a ball. Okay. So but there was an activity. There was bingo. I'd never played bingo in my life. I never hosted bingo in my life. And my manager comes to me after a couple of weeks and she said, the team is upset XYZ after bingo. Okay, cool. So I'll do XYZ after bingo. But when did they come to you? Oh, well, they came to me last week. So these people, instead of saying, hey, Marcia, I need you to do XYZ during the event that day, let it fester, were annoyed, frustrated, talked amongst themselves about me, talked to my manager about me, instead of just saying, hey, Marcy, I need you to do X, Y, Z. So when we're talking about how do we accommodate people in spaces, it's not just about cultural differences. It's not just about different languages, different parts of the world. It's also about being human, to your point, and opening your mouth and saying, hey, this is what I need from you. We know you're the new girl, so maybe you don't understand. Maybe you can just do this. So what I did, because I'm the kind of person I am, I went to every single person that day before we had our next activity. And I said, this is what I would like for you to do. I'd like for you to tell me if there's something that I'm doing or not doing as it relates to our activity, so I can make sure that I'm doing it or not doing it so that you're not upset. Because I don't want you to be upset for an hour or a week or a day afterwards. I want you to tell me immediately so I can handle it immediately and we can move about our day. So when we're talking about how do we work in spaces, that's just across the board, regardless of where you're from, right? Across the board, how you communicate with people in a workspace, in a work setting. So,
My fault, my fault, Marcia, but I feel like culture and a person's how they are plays a huge part in that, because some people just have the inability to, I want to use the right words here, just have the ability to talk directly to you. You know what I'm saying? Like they have an issue with saying, hey, what you did offended me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like some people are just, they would much rather go around, you know, to somebody else to speak to you as opposed to speaking to you. Because some people might feel like it's a conflict. They feel like if I talk to you, it's going to create a bigger conflict. So it's like, I feel like some people's culture to some degree can be a part of that. Now, in the workplace, I feel like when people come to the workplace, there's certain expectations that people should come with. The expectation of being respected, being heard, not being disrespected, not being belittled. Those are certain, in my opinion, certain expectations that people should just come with. And I promise you, I've been around many different types of cultures, and some people just have a hard time speaking up for themselves. People have a hard time with being direct. And if somebody else is direct towards them, they literally will shut down. You know, so it's kind of like, again, people's environment, people's cultures to some degree, you know, and I'm not going to sit here and, you know, talk about specific instances, but there's some cultures, and just like Kelly, to your point, if you look at them eye to eye, because I was taught when you look at a person, you have a conversation, you look at them eye to eye. But I also was in a conversation and this person was doing this the whole time. They was having a head down. I'm just like, you know, but it was like, okay, let me, you know, I didn't get upset or anything. It was just like, okay, I understood that, but it's like, that's where it starts, having an understanding. So to your question, I feel like you got to have some grace with people. You got to have understanding, but you also have to talk to a person, let them know what your expectations are, because you don't ever want to be in a space where a person doesn't know how to communicate with you because of how they think you'll react or what other people said you may react a certain type of way.
And that's perfect. That's exactly why I did what I did in that particular scenario as the new person, to make sure that they knew I'm not trying to get over. I'm not trying to cause a rift. I would like for you to communicate with me directly, because we're all new, right? So, you know, asking about how do we move in a space with other nationalities, with people from other cultures. I have found, for me, it's helpful to be direct, regardless of whether I've been in a conversation or understood somebody from Mauritius or Belarus or anything. But so in all of this travel that we've done, what has been our favorite experience?
New York. Hello. Nah. I'm playing.
Like, obviously.
Thank you. You know, thank you, guys. Like seriously, does it get any better? Like, I'm playing.
Mine
Mm.
was definitely um my cruise. Like, I mean, it's the furthest I traveled, first of all. Like, it was my first time getting to use my passport, but just like I live around lakes and not on like dirty lakes. Like, I'm disgusted by it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So like going, first of all, like being out in the open water was kind of scary, but then like you're getting to places and you're like, that is a real beach. That water is blue and it's beautiful. Like, and I get to climb in that, I get to swim in that, and it was so much fun. So just like going out and going to the beach, whether it was like, at this island, that island, or the third, like just swimming in the open water. It's like that was fresh for me. And I wanted to go like scuba diving or snorkeling, whatever, on a ride with the dolphin. So just like anywhere with a beach for me right now is it.
What countries did you visit on the cruise? Do you remember?
Ooh, I feel like if I say something, I'll be telling a lie. It was a Carnival cruise. We left out of Florida. We went to the Bahamas, Grand Turks, and Carnival's like private island, Half Moon Cay.
Mhm.
That was my favorite day. I got to wear my favorite bathing suit that day. The water was like so salty, so I was just like I wasn't having to like swim too much. Like just like I got to enjoy myself, and it was so nice. Like it wasn't too hot, and it was great. Me and my family had a really really fun time, and I slept the rest of the night after. We were on the, I was on the beach
That's
for
funny.
like 3 hours. We didn't eat dinner. We didn't do nothing. I was passed out.
A good day. That's what the old folks say.
Yes.
She gonna sleep good tonight, right?
Hmm. That's exactly what I did. All of us.
That's what's up.
I have to say that my dream trip or vacation is still yet to come, if I'm being honest. Now, I mean, I've been some beautiful places I have, but I have yet to travel outside the US. I mean, I've gone to Niagara Falls, but I'm not counting that necessarily, but that is a beautiful place. I remember that, so it's very nice.
Nice.
But I'm still looking forward to really going some places. I mean, I'm an opera singer that's never been to Italy, or yeah, I need to go to somewhere like that so I can see an opera.
Mm.
I
Tyra,
love that.
what's your bucket list trip? Like
Uh,
number one on your bucket list. You can only do one thing and go.
I gotta go somewhere in Africa. I'm not sure where in Africa just yet, but I need to go to Africa. I've never gone. I've encountered, first of all, every time I should say every time, but often when I come across other Africans, they usually assume I'm one of them. Happens all the time. Yeah, I was at a convention and there were a bunch of ladies in the restroom. They were from the Ivory Coast, so they're speaking French. And one of them turned and she just keeps talking, expecting that I knew what she was saying. And I'm like, oh, so no pas français. So, I'm like,
Never
an
seen that.
African men, they just, it's always an assumption. I'm like, okay, clearly, I need to go and visit my people.
I love that. So when they think that you are from their country, you said the Ivory Coast, is there a particular theme of country that you hear them say?
Um, Not necessarily. They just, you know, there's just some kind of, I guess, my features or something, and they
I
just,
just
that's,
wanted to know what tribe you from, girl. That's all.
right. Well, me too. I said I was gonna do one of those tests, the DNA, what is it called? You know what I'm talking about,
Like 3 and Me.
yeah, that.
Mhm.
So I could explore that because I'm like, it happens way too often. I'm like, I need to find out. So I don't know.
Really? That's very cool. I think I'm a beach person too, Kelly. So I love the water. Like I've been in places where there's a lot of hiking and walking and I'm tired. And I was like, we ain't got no beach. And I was able to spend a month in the Bahamas because we were in what the ship's called dry dock. So they take the ship out of the water and they do the maintenance and they do, reconstruction and paint the bottom and everything. And so that was done in the Bahamas. So we were there for 30 days. And, out of all the time that I spent in different parts of the Caribbean, that was my favorite just because I got to spend a lot of time there. So I got to eat the food every day. I got to go to the beach a lot. I got to have real conversations with the locals and find out, about them. And so that by far is my favorite. The second thing is just because I spent a lot of time in Jamaica, but my great grandparents were from Jamaica. They immigrated from Jamaica. So my great grandmother and my great grandfather was Chinese. My great grandmother was West Indian. And so I had always said when I found that out that I had to go to Jamaica. And so that was the very first cruise that I was on where I was able to go to Jamaica like every other week and kind of really see where my family was from. And then I recently have seen like on TikTok, if anybody's seen this, like Jamaican Chinese, like this whole a set of videos where people are talking about the immigration from the Chinese to Jamaica and then the Jamaican Chinese family there. And I'm like, ooh, I gotta go back because I need to see, I've got to do one of those, 23andMe's too to find out more about my family tree.
Yeah.
So definitely anytime I can be in the Caribbean, that's my favorite.
Yeah, Caribbean is such a beautiful place. And as I'm sitting here trying to figure out like what's been like the best is like, like again, been a lot of places, but I'm with Kyra. It's like the best is yet to come. I've been to Jamaica probably the most. Barbados is such a beautiful place, of course the Bahamas. I know Marcia, you was eating conch every day, so the little conch fritters and everything. So but I said New York being funny, but it's like, I always tell people in New York is the best part of New York is in the wintertime when it's like Christmas time, and in the summertime, it's such an electric place. It's just so much going on. From just activities. It's just like a certain level of energy in the city. Um, Believe it or not, for me, one of my best trips is probably South Korea. South Korea was probably one of the best places. It's just a beautiful city. The people were super hospitable, and sometimes I've been places you get kind of like the stares and everything like that, but it was just like people are gonna look, but it was just the people were just very warm, and I like that part, where people was like, clearly I'm different, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't feel as if I was treated different, and clearly, there's other like, a lot of military families and stuff there, but when I was there, I just had a great time, and people, had a translator, you know, it was like one of the best trips I've ever had. I drove out there, like, just experiences like that. Of course, Germany, everybody's like the Autobahn. I did, drove out there. So that's stuff like that is fun to me. I love experiences, and so it's hard to really pick one. But there's so many other places that I want to go. And of course, having children, I used to go places and I used to, write postcards, and I used to tell them in my postcards, I wish your eyes could see what my eyes are currently seeing like right now, and so, and, thankfully, they're older, they'll be able to, do those, and I'll be able to, sort of help that as well, because I want to be able to enrich their lives as well, because, I feel like part of this conversation about travel is just like, it's just shrinking the world, because the world could be so vast and just so like, wow, it's all these countries, all of these, cities and states, blah, blah, blah. But it's like once you travel, it's like it shrinks the world a little bit for you. And you just get to see how people, I just, like I said, I just love being around people, and you get to really see how they are. And sometimes they might act like this because this is their only mode of of being able to eat, so they might be a little aggressive, they might, so it's like understanding stuff like that is key, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to just doing more traveling. And yeah, we might have to all kind of like pack our families up and just go somewhere. We're gonna do a live broadcast. Like,
I love that. Let's do it.
if you still got people on the ship, you know, let's make
Baby.
it happen.
Yes, yes. I
I think I
love
think
that.
I think we were talking about one ship in particular. I don't know. You know what I'm talking
Repeat
about? Once
together, Johannes. We can get on the uh for those uh for those listening, we were talking about the reggae cruise because Johannes and I
Uh,
are music people. So we the reggae cruise. But one of the things too about like my travel is the concerts I've attended, like being able to go to places and just enjoy music in different parts of the world. I was on a cruise when there was some Jamaican um, celebrities, singers that came on and performed, but just being in a different space where I can, be around people who enjoy the same kind of music that I enjoy, regardless of what they look like, because music transcends. But you guys are talking about like places that are still on my bucket list. Like I haven't been to Niagara Falls. That was on my bucket list for 2024. Like I went when I was a kid, but I ended up using my airline credit to go to Detroit, so close to Niagara Falls, but I didn't have time to get there. So I'm it's still on my bucket list, but going back to Africa is on my bucket list, and I want to go to Ghana. I want to go some places, and I haven't even been to like South Korea or any of those places like Taiwan or any of those places yet. So there's so many places to go outside the country, but there's so many places to go inside the country, like Yellowstone Park, and go to see the
The
redwood,
Grand Canyon when
the
it's
Grand
snowing. I
Canyon.
saw that.
Oh, there
Nice.
you go.
Yeah.
So there's just so much to experience. Go ahead, Johan.
Quick question. As much as we enjoy traveling, and this is just a question to the group, is it the place or is it the people or person that you travel with that makes the experience better for you?
The place. Sometimes I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes traveling with people will make your vacation not fun at all. So like me, not saying that like I've been on just like terrible vacations with terrible people, like nothing like that. But I have noticed that I kind of like getting my own experience. Like if I go myself, I feel like I'm able to immerse myself in the things that I like rather than like going like I might miss out on an opportunity because the people that I'm with may not want to go. So it's like let me pack my suitcases, get on the Southwest flight. Me, myself, and I, my AirPods.
Because if you're a lay by the beach person and you're stuck with a bunch of hiking people, that's not cool. Or vice versa,
Yeah.
right? Or like if you want to go kayaking and they're like, "Oh, I'm afraid," you know what I mean? Like
Or
it's
like, yeah, that or like if you're I want to sleep in and chill on vacation and I'm up and dressed by 7:30, I'm not having fun anymore.
So that begs the question, well, not even a question, the statement of got to know who you're traveling with and kind of who, because some folks like to stay up all night. Some, like you just said, some folks is just trying to go to a place just to be in the hotel. I'm like, what's the point of that? Like, we got to go get the excursions. Like, we got to get out. We got to go do something. But
Mm-hmm.
that's
Let's go get a
that's interesting.
tattoo.
what did you say, Kelly?
So let's go get a tattoo.
Oh man, wait a minute.
That's funny.
So I've traveled with my family a lot, like my three daughters, my niece, and so we've learned of um, during the travel, like who likes to do what, who just wants to sit by the beach and read, who wants to do an adventure, and now we're able to better to plan an activity, right? Because we went to um, Puerto Rico together and we went to Vegas together. And from these kind of trials and errors, we know, oh, okay, somebody's going to sleep late and somebody's got to be up at 7:30. Like we got to go somewhere. And so those people get together. We put the people who get up early in the same room and the people who sleep late in the same room so that we know. So yeah, that's a good point because you got to figure out who you're traveling with and what they're going for. Are they going to rest or are they going for, an excursion or that sort of thing? Absolutely.
Wow.
Can't say I really traveled much alone. Now that I think about it, not really. It's always a family member most of the time. Now my husband, we've made several trips recently that of course he's great company, but I don't think I really went on any besides a quick, just a quick road trip to handle something, but that's about it.
So I do a lot of road trips with my dad, but my dad is not adventurous. He is on a mission. We are going here, and this is where we're going. This is why we're going. And so I'm like, let's go. Zoom. But I want to stop. Zoom.
Like, sir, you cannot drive.
Like
will
I gotta.
stop.
So when I went the last time, I had to go for a family event that I had to go by myself. And so I was like, oh, I was able to do some more sightseeing and stopping and more. So it's also like, you gotta, when you go by yourself, I can do the road trips. I would always stop when I would do road trips, and I would stop at this particular store. So whenever I was traveling, I would stop at the particular stores to go shopping, because some stores only have clothes for that particular geographical area. So when I go home, I have clothes that don't look like the area I was in. And that was some of the road trips that I would do. And then my daughters are like, I'm not going with you because you got to stop everywhere. But it's fun. I like it.
That's definitely the plus of if you're driving somewhere, you know what I'm saying, being able to just kind of do those kind of stops in these towns. I remember I drove from Maryland to Destin, Florida, and so many places in between was, a lot of stops that we made as a group, and it was just like you get to see so much, like if we'd have just took a direct flight, we wouldn't have seen nothing, So it depends. Like I know I'm definitely a person who enjoys a quick flight, but I also can appreciate, a good, a good train ride, or even, a good car ride. Cause it's like, I don't know if anybody's ever traveled by train, but it's like, it really is like, you get to see just you see the, the United States in a different way, and I was just like, wow, okay, this is different.
Yeah,
You raised your hand, Kyra, so you traveled a lot on trains?
it's been multiple occasions. Yes, yes. Yeah, just when I was in college, did several train rides, and just a couple of years ago, my mom and I took the train to well, it was another family situation, but we had to go to take a train to Chicago. So yeah, been on quite a few trains. But
I've been thinking about going just because I hear that it's nice to not have to drive and you can look out the window and see the
yeah,
sights.
yeah.
Yes, it's a plus. It's a
Mhm.
plus. Got different, different packages and stuff like that with the train, So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's dope. I do want to go across the country because I hear that it's a train that it's a ride that you could take across the country. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it because even as us talking about traveling, it's like all these different travel ideas is in my head. I'm like, oh, I want to go here. I still got to go there. So a lot of my stuff is outside of the country. You know, some like so I've never been to Vegas. Everyone's always talking about Vegas this, Vegas that. I've never been to Vegas, so I'm like, all right, I guess I gotta go. So I don't know, but it's just one of
Might
those
as
things.
well.
I know, right? Let me just get on this flight. But it's yeah, that's another thing. Well, I guess for me, and I guess I'll just kind of turn it back. Is I've always wanted to travel places where I wanted to go, not necessarily the way everyone says is like you should go. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So yeah, so I think that's also key is just knowing what you want to view and what you want to see and the type of environment you want to be around.
I
So
remember
you guys read.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Kyra.
No, I was just gonna say as a kid, all the road trips with my family, and we came across a lot of interesting characters. Um, and my parents, especially my dad, he was very open to things. You know, he felt like he was being led by the Lord to do certain things. So, you know, way back when people would actually hitchhike, we came across a woman who was hitchhiking, and she had this huge bundle of clothes, it looks like, and my dad felt impressed to go back and pick her up. So we picked her up,
Oh,
and when she got in the car, she unwrapped all these clothes, and she had a baby. It was freezing outside at the time, and I remember that still. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we had some interesting experiences on
that's
our road
crazy.
trip. Yeah, but
Well, I know
uh,
she was thankful that your father decided to pick her up with
yeah,
that baby.
yeah, it's like okay.
That's real.
So we have had I think, a wonderful conversation about traveling the world. And so I want to do one last round robin of like your biggest thoughts about why to travel for our listeners. Like, what is your final statement or thought about what's a good reason to get out there and do some traveling? We're going to start with Kelly.
Okay. I say that you should travel because um so you don't get comfortable, so you don't get complacent in the spot that you're in. I think that traveling like helps open up your mind, it opens you up to new experiences, and I feel like you're not going to grow if you stay in the same place that you are. So whether that means travel, whether that means like, you know, just learning something new, I definitely always encourage just like, I guess, being a student of your environment and of the world. And the best way to do that for me is to travel.
Love it. How about you, Kyra?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Kelly. It's just great to see how other people are living and to experience other things, and you know, not it can help you from keep you from being so closed-minded or one-track minded, you know, because this is the way it always, you know, it is where you are. And so to be able to go somewhere and see how other people are doing things and how they're interacting, or I mean, it can make you even feel better about where you are. You're like, wow, I thought I had it hard here, but you know, I don't know. I'm just saying, there's just lots of things you can run across in situations if you get out there and experience it, see the world a bit, and you know, just broaden your horizons.
I definitely want to echo, Kelly and Kyra. I mean, traveling, it opens you up to a different way of just seeing the world, if you will. So me, growing up in New York, it was a lot of it was just we didn't really go to a lot of even other boroughs, so it was just like we kind of just stayed in our area, and just that was kind of it. And so, but once I started traveling, it was just like it enriches your life. It enriches, the things that you're able to see, the people you're able to talk to, the conversations, and even, in different settings, because I've been to a place like Barcelona, I could bring that up in a conversation and somebody could be like, yeah, I've been there too. Did you do blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yeah, oh my God. So it's just like, again, to me, it just shrinks the world and it just allows you to just get richer in a way. It's not monetary rich, but it's rich in experience. It's rich in the way you get to see the world, And so that type of rich is priceless to me, but I love making deposits and I love just continuing to get rich in that fashion. So traveling is amazing.
I love all of those. One of the things, like I said earlier, is that I believe that we're really just all the same, regardless of what we look like, where we're from, what we sound like. And I think traveling, whether it's in another state or in another country or another continent, I think that it helps us realize that we have more in common than we don't have in common. So I love what Johan says about that it shrinks the world, but it also kind of opens your mind. And so that's my final statement on it. Kelly, tell folks how to find us.
Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook at our page, the Gens Podcast, Our Authentic Selves. And you can also subscribe and like our YouTube channel, the Gens Podcast.
Bye,
Perfect.
guys. Thank you
Bye,
so much for
everyone.
Take
tuning
care.
in.
All right, y'all. Peace, peace.